Hey, welcome back to DZ's Daily Devotion. So glad to have you guys with me today. We are on day 42 of our 365-day journey with the Lord. Glad that you could make it. If you're just picking up, you go check out our playlist. You can go all the way to day 1. We're reading the whole Bible in 1 year, 42 days into it. So let's pick up where we left off yesterday. We're going to be at Exodus chapter 32, verse 1. And we're reading until chapter 33, verse 23. Let's get started. Chapter 32, the gold calf. When the people saw how long it was taking Moses to come back down the mountain, they gathered around Aaron. "Come on," they said, "make us some gods who can lead us. We don't know what happened to this fellow Moses who brought us here in the land of Egypt." So Aaron said, "Take the gold rings from the ears of your wives and sons and daughters and bring them to me." All the people took the gold rings from their ears and brought them to Aaron. Then Aaron took the gold, melted it down, molded it into the shape of a calf. When the people saw it, they exclaimed, "O Israel, these are the gods who brought you out of the land of Egypt." Aaron saw how excited the people were, so he built an altar in front of the calf. Then he announced, "Tomorrow will be a festival to the Lord." Then the people got up early the next morning to sacrifice burnt offerings and peace offerings. After this, they celebrated with feasting and drinking, and they indulged in a pagan revelry. The Lord told Moses, "Quick, go down the mountain. Your people whom brought from land of Egypt have corrupted themselves. How quickly they have turned away from the way I've commanded them to live. They have melted down gold and made a calf. They have bound down and sacrificed to it. They are saying, 'These are your gods, O Israel, who brought you out of the land of Egypt.'" Then the Lord said, "I have seen how stubborn and rebellious this people are. Now leave me alone, so my fierce anger can blaze against them, and I will destroy them. Then I will make you, Moses, into a great nation." But Moses tried to pacify the Lord. "O Lord," he said, "why are you so angry with your own people, whom you brought out of the land of Egypt, with such great power and such a strong hand? Why let the Egyptians say their God rescued them with the evil intention of slaughtering them into the mountains and wiping them from the face of the earth? Turn away from your fierce anger. Change your mind about this terrible disaster you have threatened against your people. Remember your servants Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. You bound yourself with an oath to them, saying, 'I'll make your descendants as numerous as the stars in heaven.' Now I'll give them this land, and I have promised to your descendants, and they will possess it forever." So the Lord changed his mind about the terrible disaster he had threatened to bring against his own people. Then Moses turned and went down to the mountain. He held his hands to the stone tablets inscribed with the terms of the covenant. They were inscribed on both sides, front and back. These tablets were God's work, the words that were written by God himself. When Joshua heard the boisterous noise of the people shouting below them, he exclaimed to Moses, "It sounds like war in the camp." But Moses replied, "No, it's not a shout of victory nor wailing of defeat. I hear the sound of a celebration." When they came near the camp, Moses saw a calf and dancing and burning with anger. He threw the stone tablets to the ground, smashing them at the foot of the mountain. He took the calf they had made and burned it. Then he burned it into powder, threw it in the water, and forced the people to drink it. Finally, he turned to Aaron and demanded, "Why did these people do to you to make you bring such terrible sin upon them?" "Don't get upset, my lord," Aaron replied. "You yourself know how evil these people are. They said to me, 'Make us gods who will lead us.' We don't know what happened to this fellow Moses who brought us from the land of Egypt. So I told them, 'Whoever has jewelry, take it off and bring it to me.' I simply threw it into the fire, and it came to this calf." Moses saw that Aaron had led the people completely out of control, much to the amusement of their enemies. So he stood at the entrance of the camp and shouted, "All of you are on the Lord's side, come here and join me." And all the Levites gathered around him. Moses told them, "This is what the Lord, the God of Israel, says. Each of you, take your swords and go back and forth one end of the camp to the other. Kill everyone, even your brothers, friends, and neighbors." The Levites obeyed Moses' command, and about 3,000 people died that day. Then Moses told the Levites, "Today you have ordained yourselves for the service of the Lord, for you obeyed him, even though killing your own sons and brothers. Today you have earned a blessing." Moses intercedes for Israel. The next day Moses said to the people, "You have committed a terrible sin, but I will go back to the Lord on the mountain. Perhaps I will be able to obtain forgiveness for your sin." So Moses returned to the Lord and said, "Oh, what terrible sin these people have committed. They have made gods of gold for themselves. But now, if you will only forgive their sin, but if not, erase my name from the record you have written." But the Lord replied to Moses, "No, I will erase the name of everyone who has sinned against me. Now go, lead the people to the place I told you about. Look, my angel will lead you the way before you, and when I come to call the people to account, I will certainly hold the responsibility for their sins." Then the Lord sent a great plague upon the people. They had worshipped the calf and Aaron had made. Chapter 33. The Lord said to Moses, "Get going, you and your people brought from the land of Egypt. Go up the land I swore to give to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. I told them, I'll give this land to your descendants, and I'll give an angel to drive you out of the Kenites, Amorites, Hittites, Perizzites, Hivites, Jebusites. Go up to this land that flows with milk and honey, but I will not travel among you, for you are a stubborn, rebellious people. If I did, I would surely destroy you along the way. When the people heard these stern words, they went to mourning and stopped wearing the jewelry and fine clothes. For the Lord had told Moses to tell them, if you are a stubborn, rebellious people, if I were to travel with you for a moment, I would destroy you. Remove your jewelry and fine clothing while I decide what to do with you. From the time they left Mount Sinai, the Israelites had no more jewelry or fine clothes. It was Moses practiced the tent of meeting, and it was set up a distance from the camp. Everyone who wanted to make a request for the Lord would go to the tent meeting outside the camp. Whenever Moses went out of the tent of meeting, all the people would end up and stand at the entrance of their own tents. They would all watch Moses until he disappeared inside. As he went in the tent, the pillar of cloud would come down and hover its entrance while the Lord spoke with Moses. When the people saw the cloud standing at the entrance of the tent, they would stand and bow in front of their own tents. Inside the tent meeting, the Lord would speak to Moses face to face, as one speaks to a friend. Afterward, Moses would return to the camp, but the young man who assisted him, Joshua, son of Nun, would remain behind in the tent of the meeting. Moses sees the Lord's glory. One day Moses said to the Lord, you have been telling me, take these people up to the promised land, but you haven't told me whom you will send with me. You have told me, I know you by name, and I volunteer on you. A true look you favorable on me. Let your way so I can understand you more fully and continue to enjoy your favor. And remember this nation is your very own people. The Lord replied, I will personally go with you, Moses, and I will give you everything will be fine with you. Then Moses replied, if you don't actually go with us, don't make us leave this place. How anyone will look favorably on me, on your people, if you don't go with us? For your presence among us sets your people apart from the other people on earth. The Lord replied to Moses, I will indeed do what you ask, for I look favorably on you, and I know you by name. Moses responded, then show me your glorious presence. The Lord replied, I'll make all my goodness pass before you, and I'll call my name Yahweh before you. For I will show mercy to anyone I choose, and I will show compassion to anyone I choose. But you may not look directly at my face, for no one may see me and live. The Lord continued, look, stand near me on this rock, and see my glorious presence pass by. I will hide you in the crevice of the rock, and cover you with my hand until I pass by. Then I'll remove my hand and let you see me from behind, but not my face will be seen. So that is where we're leaving off in Exodus today. Let's go ahead and move on to Matthew. We're picking up in Matthew chapter 6, verse 69, and we're reading until chapter 27, verse 14. Let's go. Peter denies Jesus. Meanwhile, Peter was sitting outside in the courtyard. A servant girl came over and said to him, you were the one with Jesus at Galilee. But Peter denied it in front of everyone. I don't know what you're talking about, he said. Later by the gate, another servant girl noticed him and said to the standing around him, this is the man of Jesus of Nazareth. And Peter denied it again, this time with an oath. I don't even know that man, he said. A little later, some of the other bystanders came over to Peter and said, you must be one of them. We can tell by your Galilean accent. Peter swore, a curse on me if I am lying. I don't know the man. And immediately a rooster crowed. Suddenly Jesus' words flashed through Peter's mind. Before the rooster crows, you will deny me 3 times that you even know me. And he went away, weeping bitterly. Chapter 27. Judas hangs himself. Fairly early in the next morning, the leading priests and elders of the people went again to lay plans for putting Jesus to death. When they bound him, led him away, and took him to Pilate, the Roman governor. When Judas, who had betrayed him, realized that Jesus had been condemned to die, he was filled with remorse. So he took 30 pieces of silver back to the leading priests and elders. I have sinned, he declared, for I have betrayed an innocent man. What do we care, they reported. That's your problem. Then Judas threw the silver on the ground in the temple and went and hanged himself. The leading priests picked up the coins. It wouldn't be right to put this money in the temple treasury, they said, since it was payment for murder. After some discussion, they finally decided to buy the potter's field and make it to a cemetery for foreigners. This is why the field is still called the Field of Blood. This fulfilled the prophecy of Jeremiah that says, they took 30 pieces of silver, the price that was valued by the people of Israel, and purchased potter's field as the Lord directed. Jesus' trial before Pilate. Now, Jesus standing before Pilate, the Roman governor. Are you the king of Jews? The governor asked him. Jesus replied, you have said it. When the leading priests and elders made their executions against him, Jesus remained silent. Don't you hear all these charges they are bringing against you? Pilate demanded. But Jesus made no response to any of these charges, much to the governor's surprise. So that is where we're leaving off in Matthew today. Let's go ahead and move on to Psalms. We're going to be reading Psalm 33, and we're reading verses 1 through 11. Let's go. Psalm 33. Let the godly sing to joy for the Lord. It is fitting for the pure to praise him. Praise the Lord with melodies on the lyre. Make music on 10-stringed harp. Sing a new song and praise to him. Play skillfully on the harp and sing with joy. For the word of the Lord holds true, and we can trust everything he does. He loves whatever is just and good. The unfailing love of the Lord fills the earth. The Lord merely spoke, and the heavens were created. He breathed the words, and the stars were born. He assigned the sea its boundaries. He locked the oceans in vast reservoirs. Let the whole world fear the Lord, and let everyone stand in awe of him. When he spoke, the world began. It appeared at his command. The Lord frustrates the plans of nations and thwarts all their schemes. But the Lord's plans stand firm forever. His intentions can never be shaken. So we're going to leave off there. Let's go ahead and finish up with our Proverbs. We are in Proverbs chapter 8, and we're reading verses 33 to 36. Let's go. Listen to my instruction and be wise. Don't ignore it. Joyful are the one who listen to me, watching me for daily at my gates, waiting outside my home. For whoever finds me finds life and receives favor from the Lord. But those who miss me injure themselves. All who hate me love death. That is where we're leaving off today, which is day 42 of DZ's Daily Devotions, where we're reading this entire Bible in 1 year. I'm glad to be reading it to you guys. I'm glad that you're reading it along with me. Before you leave, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to this channel. Hit that bell button for notifications when a new video pops out. And thank you so much, guys, seriously, for supporting me at Patreon at www.patreon.com/YoungNemo. If you haven't done that yet, I'll leave a link in the description so you can check that out. And that is how we're getting these done every day. Thank you guys so much for joining along with me, and I'll catch you on day 43.